What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the Hasbro Pulse HasCon 2021 Marvel Legends Spider-Man Retro Series Venom. And so here we have the retro card Venom pose and out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually run through Venom's accessories. Venom does come with two different head sculpts. We do get the head sculpt where his tongue is sticking out, which looks really nice. Then we do get a head sculpt where his tongue is in his mouth. He also comes with two pairs of hands. We do get a pair of clawing hands. And then we get a pair of fists for Venom. Other than that, Venom doesn't come with anything else. So let's actually take a closer look at Venom. And so here we have a closer look at the retro carded Venom, and I think Hasbro has done a decent job with this figure. Now, I'm not going to say they did an absolutely perfect job with Venom here, but what we do have is a very solid figure. There are some things that I don't like about this figure, which we'll touch on right now. For starters, his head. His head is way too big. I know this is supposed to be the animated series Venom, but in comparison with his body, Venom always had a tiny head. This head is gigantic when you compare it to the rest of the figure, and it looks a little bit odd, especially when you compare him with the bigger body and this bigger head. It looks a little bit weird, to be quite honest. That's not saying the head sculpt isn't really nice. It's a very beautiful head sculpt. It looks just like the animated series Venom, but again, it's too big. Venom was always seen with a smaller head in the animated series, so I don't know why his head is this massive. Also, the head shape is completely wrong. I know they did add a little bit of a divot here in Venom's head, but it's not enough. Venom actually had like a divot in the middle of his head, and it was very prominent. And this figure, even though it does have it slightly, it should have been a little more pronounced, and that is a little bit of a minor nitpick on my part. One thing I do like, and this is something that I always thought of, I always thought these slits right here on his eyes were his pupils, but that's not actually the case. That's actually just the way the symbiote looks. Really do like the tongue. In the animated series, Venom had a forked tongue, and they did a really good job capturing it here. Really glad they went the slime and they didn't include the saliva. That's one thing that a lot of Venom figures do, but this one did ignore that, so really do like that. He does have some really nice white teeth, and they're very bright. I do like that. So really good job on Hasbro's part there. So taking a look at the figure, absolutely love the paint job on this figure. It is very, very accurate to the animated series, where the left half of Venom was done in red and the right half was done in blue, and it looks so nice. Now, there is a little bit of an issue I do have, and that's mainly with the spider. It looks nice right here in the front, but when you get Venom turned around, ooh, it's very, very squished, and I understand why Hasbro did that. They didn't want to add the spider onto the butterfly joints, but yeah, it is quite convenient that the way they did it is they just made it go under the butterfly joint. It looks a little bit weird, and on mine, very sloppy right here, but thankfully it's on the back and on the front. It looks perfect, and this is the way I'm going to have Venom posed at the front, so I really can't complain too much about how it looks in the front. Now, they are using the Omega Red body here for Venom, and Hasbro being Hasbro, they left the peg holes exposed. They didn't even retool this figure to cover those up, and they didn't include any accessories to add there right there. So yeah, it is a little bit of a Hasbro move that they did not include patches for that, or even redo this mold just for Venom. It's just Hasbro's way of being Hasbro, unfortunately. But they did sculpt new forearms on Venom here. He does have the symbiote going across. Even though it's not an accurate paint job, it should have like an infinity symbol right here in red, and on this one in blue. It still looks really nice. The hands here are done very nice. I do have him with the clawing hands, and you can see he still has that blue and red motif here. On this side, the outer part is done in red. The inner part is done in blue, which is accurate to the show. Really do like that red and blue shading. It looks very good, I'm not gonna lie. At first I was gonna be a little bit leery of it, but Hasbro actually did a really good job of making it look nice. And then another minor nitpick that I personally have with this figure is the choice of plastic that they went with. They went with this really dark purple, almost dark blue. I would like to see it cast in black, because I think that would have made these colors pop a little bit better. But yeah, it still looks very nice. I love the way it looks, especially down here on his legs, going up the legs. You can see anything where the light would be hitting the inside or on the right side, it's done in blue. Anything that it's going to be hitting the right side or the left side, it's done in red, and that's fantastic. I absolutely love that. Gorgeous paint job on Venom. Even though the head sculpt is a little bit of a minor nitpick being too big, I still think Venom here is a really solid figure. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get Venom compared to other figures you may have in your collection. And so here we have Venom posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Venom posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco One-Hold Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. And finally, here we do have Venom posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. And so with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually move on to Venom's articulation. Now, Venom does have a ball hinge here at the head, which unfortunately, that's as high as he looks up, unfortunately. He can't look past that. He can look down surprisingly well, but no upwards movement, not great anyway. Turning left and right, his head does only go about that far because his jaw is so pronounced it doesn't move past his traps, and that with that limited head movement, you're gonna pop his head off when trying to rotate his head, so do be aware of that. Venom does have butterfly joints right here. As you can see, they do move forward and back really nicely because the Omega Red did have butterfly joints. Venom here does too. His arms also do go out to the side about that far, going all the way around, no problem. We do have a bicep swivel working fine. Double bend at the elbow going about 90 degrees, so that's pretty good. Swivel and hinge at the wrist. We do have an ab crunch which goes back about that far. Really surprised that they actually continued to paint right there. That's honestly a little bit of a shock to me. He does crunch forward to about right there. Does have rotation at the waist. Legs do kick forward to about right there. Go back out to the side only to about there, which is a little bit disappointing for Venom. He does have a thigh swivel, which works fine. Double bend here at the knee, working pretty good. No boot cut swivel, but we do have a hinge in the ankle going back and forward, and then forward facing pin for rocker ankle. So overall, Venom has some decent articulation. It's not the best. It could be better, but it could be a lot worse. It could be that Hyperion mold that we used to see with Venom. So overall, this is still a very nice piece. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get Venom posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the Hasbro Pulse exclusive HasCon 2021 Spider-Man Retro Series Venom posed for my final thoughts, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. This is an okay figure. This is not a figure that you would throw hundreds of dollars down for, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat there are some issues with mine that may be universal. I don't know. I haven't seen any other reviews so far, but it is something to be aware that as I was reviewing this figure, the joints got incredibly loose. Now, it could just be my figure. It could be a universal issue, but do check yours. Just by simple handling, the joints, especially at the ankles, got very loose, and it is very hard for Venom to stand now. It might just be mine, so it could be an isolated incident. It could be a universal issue with Venom that the joints get loose after handling him, which is a huge problem seeing as how this Venom was an exclusive, and he is not a cheap figure. This figure did cost me about $45 to ship, and it is a little bit of a shame when Hasbro does put out a product that really doesn't meet standards. It's really loose at this point in time, guys. The torso is loose, the ankles got loose, and I really haven't been messing around with him too much. I just basically did the articulation for him, and he's pretty much very loose in the torso and in the ankles, so it could just be mine, so I'm not going to chalk it up as a terrible figure, but it is something to note that yours might have that issue. Another thing I'm not a fan of is the reuse of the Omega Red body, especially with the holes. If they had covered up those holes, I would be much more accepting of this figure, but the fact that they just reused the Omega Red body and didn't even bother to fill those holes kind of really cheaping out on an exclusive, and that's something you really don't want to see on exclusive figures. You want to see companies put forth their best work because they are putting out what's supposed to be a premium product, and they are cutting corners, and Venom here is an example of cutting corners. Now, on the bright side, this is a very impressive figure. I do like the look of Venom here. He looks very nice, and aesthetically he is very pleasing to the eye. So if you can get past all the issues that might come up with this guy, he's still a very nice looking figure. And if you just need a nice looking Venom in your shelf and you're a fan of the animated series, this Venom is gonna look very nice on your shelf. But if you're looking for a figure that is gonna last, I don't know how this Venom is gonna hold up. Yours might not have the same issues as mine, but I do gotta point out that mine got very, very loose. This is actually about the third time I've tried doing my final thoughts, and he's fallen off the stand each time because the ankles gave out. I'm actually surprised he's still standing. If you don't have those issues and yours is perfect, then it's not that big of an issue, and Venom is a very good figure. But me, I can only review what I have in hand, and this Venom does have some issues. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews as well as all my other Marvel Legend videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you'd like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it fits in my collection, I'll gladly have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.